Thanks for checking in and watching. So this is my first video of anything like this, but we're getting ready to go back to Alaska this weekend. We are heading up to the Kenai River in Soldotna, and we've been going to Alaska every other year or so since about 2002. And my dad and I mainly, and then a few friends here and there tag along and whatnot. But this year we're going up and taking my best friend Spike, and it'll be his first time up to that part of Alaska fishing, and I wanted to document kind of our trip and what we're going to be doing and experiencing, and then also just kind of go through the gear checklist and kind of how we do it. There's a lot of videos out there on do-it-yourself fishing and whatnot, and when I talk to a lot of people about going to Alaska, a common comment that I get is, gosh, that would be so great to do once in a lifetime, and how expensive it is and that sort of deal. And I mean, it's not like cheap, per se, but we typically do it what we feel is really cheap. And so I haven't seen any videos on kind of how to do it that way. So I figured I would just kind of post that. So a trip to Alaska is something that every outdoorsman should do. There's just no place on earth like it. And so I'm going to kind of go through the details of our trip, costs involved of the trip, so what we're kind of paying out, the expenses that we have while we're there, the fishing gear, kind of all the gear we take, how we pack it on the plane, and then obviously hopefully have some awesome video to show of us catching some fish in the Kenai River. And these are going to be the red salmon, or the sockeye. And this year, 2019, it's really shaping up to be a really strong run, which is really nice. And so we're going to kind of go through all that and take you on this adventure that has been a big part of our lives, and this is really more so to something to document for myself and my dad, and someday my kids, when they get older, they can watch and have those experiences too. Okay, now I'm going to go through the costs associated with doing our trip the way we do it, and kind of give you a breakdown and give you an idea of what it is per person. So first and foremost, our airfare flying from Portland, Oregon to Anchorage was $630 a person. A little on the high end. We've got it as cheap as like $200. So it just really depends on the time of the year of what's going on, kind of in the world with gas and whatnot. We bought our tickets in February. Probably could have got them a little cheaper if we bought them a little bit earlier. And we also paid a little bit more so we could have kind of the premium flight times, early morning departure from Portland, and then also coming back we wanted a late afternoon return, so we wouldn't have to hurry out of there on our last day. Our car rental, we get a truck, F-150 type crew cab, and that was $928. So $900 to $1,000 for a truck rental is what's to be expected. That pretty much is the same price as every time we go up, and so that hasn't fluctuated a whole lot over the years. The cabin that we're staying at a place called A Cabin by the Pond. I have to give them a shout out because it is amazing. We stayed there 2 years ago. They had just taken ownership of the place, and the couple that runs it, they do a phenomenal job. The cabins are, they're cozy, they're nice, they're really taken care of. It's clean, the grounds are awesome. They work their tail off there. It's a great place to go and really relax. You're going to see moose, beautiful fire pit. It has everything you need. It's like a mile from town. So the Fred Meyer, if you need to go shopping or anything like that, you can walk a quarter mile to the river if you want to do some fishing or whatnot. But it's just a great place. Now, the place we're staying with 3 of us, a little bit more expensive. It's $270 a night. But hey, it's Alaska in the summer. They got to make their money during this time of the year, so they can charge premium prices for a premium property, in my opinion. We've stayed at places that were $120, $130 a night. And you know what? Up there, you really get what you pay for. If you're going to pay $100 a night or $120 a night, you can't expect a $270 cabin, okay? And so just know that you can go really expensive, or you can even go cheaper than we're doing it. We've been doing it long enough. We like to have a little bit of luxury in our lives when we go up there now. So while it's cheap, it's not like at the dirt cheap level. But this, of all places we've stayed, A Cabin by the Pond, for the price that we pay, Nothing beats it. They got a fish cleaning station there. They have 5 freezers there. At least the last time we were there, maybe they have more that you could store your fish in if you're processing yourself. And so it just has all the amenities that any fisherman needs on a great vacation. Your license is going to run you $70 for a salmon license up there. Gas, we figure about $200 for gasoline when it's all said and done. Food, beverage, maybe around $300. You know, that give or take, but we kind of look at it. That's about what it runs. You know, the beer and the whiskey is probably pretty close to half that bill, but nonetheless, $300 is roughly what we're going to pay for that. Now to the fish processing stuff. We've always taken it to the processor there in Soldotna, and the place that we stay, they have freezers. You can process your own fish there if you have your own vacuum sealer and whatnot. And we'd thought about doing that, but my buddy Spike, who's going with us, he'd done that on a previous trip and said that they'd spent like 2 hours, 3 hours a day after they get done fishing, processing their fish. And he's like, it just wasn't that much fun. The hours that you spend, you're tired. He's like, you want to sit back, you want to reminisce, talk about the day, enjoy yourself. You don't want to have to be cleaning fish, processing, vacuum sealing, you know, all that kind of stuff. So we take it to the processor. It's a really slick process. I fillet them. I cut them into the sizes we want. We drop them off, keep them for the week, give them 24 hours notice. You come the next day to your pickup time, they box it up for you, and it's ready to go, flight ready, 45 pounds, no questions. It's going to be maybe $600, $700 for them to do that between the 3 of us. It's usually 400 or so when it's just 2 of us in the past that have gone. So you figure add another third to that. But that's well worth it in my opinion. They flash freeze it, they store it for you. It's done right. There's no mishaps, and you're getting good quality fish taken care of, sent home with you, that you're going to be able to eat for the next 2 years with no problems. And when we bring fish home, it usually takes us 2 years to go through it, and tastes just as good 2 years later as it did the first day we opened it up. So all in all, the total for the trip per person is going to come out to be about $2,000. Okay, $2,000 for 8 nights. And a great fishing experience. You're going to catch a ton of fish, have a great time. I mean, there's nothing like Alaska. Okay, now I'm going to go through our tackle and fishing stuff that we take up there. As you can see, it's not a ton. You don't need a lot, okay? You really don't. Don't let anybody fool you and tell you you need a whole bunch of stuff. You don't. So we go through this, and these are just kind of the key important things. You know, definitely take a first aid kit. You are going to cut your finger. You're going to get bumps and bruises and whatnot. Put that in your pack or buy it when you get up there. You know, on the Kenai, we've never really experienced mosquitoes being all that bad, but it's definitely a good thing to have. We whittled this a few years ago. My dad did. All right, from a spruce tree up there, and so that's our kind of our fish bunker. I think it says 2015 when we were up there, and he did that, and that's nice to have, especially on the Kenai, just to get them and knock them in the head and get them calmed down because they are wild. You know, fish stringer, we just do rope, hook, wrap it around a tree, that sort of deal. Make it nice and easy. Any type of fish stringer will do, but you definitely want one. Keep it in the water, keep them cold. Fillet knives. So this time I went with a big Bubba blade. Never use it. Heard a lot of things about it. Maybe it's just a TV deal, but we go through a lot of fillet knives over the course of the years. And so I was like, what the heck, I'll just try that. So I grabbed that one. It's like a 9-inch blade. This one's a 7-inch blade. This one's really, really flimsy. And what I like to have a second one for, being flimsy, is makes it easier to cut out all the bones when you're filleting your fish. So this one's definitely more sturdy, just to kind of get through everything, and then that's for the kind of the fine tuning. Always want to have some sort of a multi-tool there with you on the river, scissors, clamps, pliers, you know, that type of stuff. Type of line that we use, we go 40-pound main line on our spinning reels, and then we will have a swivel, and then we'll go 30-pound P-line extra strong leader. And you might think 40-pound, that's a lot of poundage for a fish that averages probably 8 or 9 pounds on the river. You catch a big male around 15 pounds, but the vast majority you're going to catch are probably in the 7 to 9 pounds or something like that. Here's why. It's not for the fish, it's absolutely for the river. You see, the sockeye run up the sides of the river, so you're hooking these fish 3-4 feet from you, okay? And when they get hooked,
and they are 3 or 4 feet from you, it is a rodeo like you cannot believe. It's a lot different than hooking them when they're 30, 40 yards, being trolled behind a boat. And what they want to do is they want to get to the middle of the river, because the Kenai River runs swift, and they want to get their shoulders in the river. And if they do get in the middle of the river, you are going to lose them. And we started with 17-pound tests the first time, and we lost more fish than we could count. We ended up putting like 25-pound and still lost some fish. Ultimately, we went up to like 30, 35, and we just said, heck with it. We're going 40-pound so you can horse them. And then we love this P-line 30-pound leader, just in case you get hung up, that you're going to be able to break it off. So that's our recommendation. If you don't take the recommendation and you do go lighter tackle, don't blame me when you lose a whole bunch of fish, because you will. All right, here's our tackle box right here. This is all we take. Yeah, we got a few pretties, all that kind of stuff, and they try and sell you a bunch of stuff and have a bunch of names, the Russian river flies and all this kind of stuff. But here's the reality: you're flossing, okay? You're bringing your fly, you're bringing your hook across the fish's mouth. They're running up the river, opening and closing their mouth. They're not actually, for the most part, feeding, okay, and hitting your hook or whatever. So in reality, 4/0 Gamakatsu, okay, 4/0 hook, little bit of yarn, and you're all set. And I'll show you what that looks like on our setup once we get to the river in a few days. We go with these sinkers in the swifter water. 3/4 of an ounce is what I'd recommend. You want to get that and get your line down quickly and feel it kind of bouncing along the bottom. We get some 1/2 ounce stuff too, if you're in water that's not quite as swift or not quite as deep and whatnot. Swivels, hooks, we throw a few blue foxes in there in case we want to try and catch a rainbow trout. They can't have any barbs on them. Okay, if they do, you got to pinch those things off. So if I do use that before I got to throw it in the water, I got to pinch those off. So make sure you know that. Hook sharpener. You'll need it because these fish will dull your hooks. You're going to catch a lot of fish. You're going to hook a lot of fish. Your hooks are going to bounce off rocks and sticks and all that kind of stuff. Get a couple of these guys. And then, of course, scissors, trimmers, and that type of stuff. Now, I always bring a set of gloves. These are great for filleting, along the riverbank. And they get all nasty, and then I throw them away at the end of the week. And in the mornings when it's nice and cold, I got these glacier gloves, just kind of keep our hands warm. And so that's really like our tackle setup for the Kenai. The type of pole that we use, we do an 8-foot 6 rod and just a spinning rod. And we have, we just feel that it's sturdy enough that you can horse them around a little bit, because you really got to control them. If you don't, they're going to control you. So an 8/6 rod, I would recommend. Like I said, 40-pound main line with 30-pound leader. And we put all this stuff. This will go in our backpack. We'll take a little backpack to the river with us. And that's what we use. And that's what we catch all our fish off of. For the last 17 years, it seemed to work pretty good for us. All right, let's talk about our setup of what we take in terms of clothing and whatnot, and how we pack everything. So in terms of fishing, you definitely have to have breathable waders. Make sure you do a water check on those. I just did a water check the other day on mine, and all the seams leaked. And so ran out today, got a new set of waders. It was due. They were like 7 years old. But never assume that they're going to work, because the last thing you want to do is get in that river and be fishing and feel cold water run down your leg. Chest waders over hip waders, in my opinion, for the simple fact that you can definitely walk through deeper water. When you're around other people and whatnot, you may have to walk around them upstream, downstream, and so it's always better to be prepared to have chest waders as opposed to hip waders. For clothing, just take one pair of shoes. That's what we wear. We'll take 2 pair of jeans. One is our fishing jeans. One is our lounging jeans. Take maybe 3 t-shirts. 3 days worth of 3 or 4 days of socks and underwear. I would definitely recommend getting some wool socks, or some heavy duty socks to keep your feet warm. Stand in the river a while, it does tend to get cold, so just kind of be prepared in that regard. And You know, your basic toiletries. We mostly just buy a toothpaste, shampoo, and that kind of junk when we get up there, use it for the week, and don't bother bringing it back. Definitely take a hat of some sort, something to fish in, keep the sun out if you get it, keep the rain off you, that kind of deal. And a rain jacket. You know, we take a Gore-Tex rain jacket. We don't take the pants because we're in waders all the time, but having a rain jacket is definitely a must. 2 sweatshirts is what we take. One for fishing, again, one for lounging. You know, a pair of sweats, maybe a pair of shorts to hang around the campfire if you get really nice weather. Outside of that, that's pretty much all we take in terms of clothing wise. So we pack really light. And I'm going to show you how we're going to be able to get all that in our gear. So this is the pole case that we take. My dad just made it. PVC. Got a cap at each end. Glue one side down. Make it long enough to where you can, you know, split your pole in half and put them in there. And the nice thing about this is this big PVC right here. It'll hold 4 spinning poles. 3 of us are going. Always take an extra pole just in case one breaks. We've had about every 3rd trip we have a broken pole in some way, shape, or form. So, and what we do with these is we carry this onto the plane with us, so we do not check it. A lot of people will check it. Take it on the plane with you because 1, pretty much everybody this time of year going up to Alaska is fishing. And 2, if you do get on a plane where it doesn't fit on the overhead, they'll take it and store it for you, and they will not charge you. Okay, so don't check this into check baggage and pay that money. It's just not worth it. We get 2 backpacks that we take. Okay, you know, one backpack we will put all of our fishing gear, knives, and all that kind of stuff that you just can't carry on a plane. We'll pack that stuff in there along with our wading boots, you know, try and weight that thing down a little bit. Of course, it needs to be under 50 pounds or whatever, but that's pretty easy to do. So our big clunky stuff plus our sharp stuff kind of goes into our check bag. The other bag, we put the rest of our clothes and stuff in it, and that one of us will carry that onto the plane. It fits in the storage overhead. These are just Alpine backpacks. You know, just kind of your, I don't even know how big they are, but I've taken them all over the world. Been to 24 countries with them, been on a lot of airplanes, and so we've always packed them on and not had to worry about that. So with 3 guys going, we'll have 1 check bag, we will have 1 carry-on, we will have 1 carry-on, and then we'll also take a backpack, just a regular backpack, and just, you know, put the rest of the miscellaneous stuff in, plus our carry-on, or our personal item, I guess is what they call it, and that's where we put our electronics and stuff like that. So on the way up, we are checking one bag only, okay? And for good reason, because on the way back, we'll have the 1 bag checked, okay, plus hopefully like 6 or 7 fish boxes. And so, you know, we're only going to get a few of those in at like a low price, and then you kind of got to pay more. It's well worth it though. I also take my 44 Magnum when I go up. You just check that separately, you know, with TSA. Make sure it's in a box that's locked and cannot be opened. And so if it can at all be opened on one side, bring the cable, try and wrap the cable around the handle to get that tight. I've ran into that before. But I always take that. We haven't ran into any bears or anything, but you know, you never know. It is Alaska. It's wild. They are around. So I always make sure I have that. Make sure all the shells and stuff are not with the weapon, magazine, that type of stuff. They can't be with the weapon. So the shells will go into the check baggage on the plane.